facing rejection, how does that help then when you're on the actual date?
Yeah, I think it helps you build resilience at the end of the day. And one thing I always advocate to you guys, if you follow like any of my online dating stuff, is that you want volume, you want data points. So in the case of cold approaching, you're approaching many different types of women from many different walks of life throughout many different points of their day, and they might be in different situations. A lot of guys fear that, oh, what if she rejects me horribly in cold approach? That never happens. That actually happens on an online game where they'll be rude to you because you have that layer of anonymity.
Right.
In real life, they're usually cordial. And a lot of times girls too, like, hey, like, I don't know this guy. He could be a creepo. He could be a weirdo. He could be aggressive or violent. So a lot of times they'll even give you the number and or the Instagram knowing they don't want to go out with you, and then they'll just ghost you or just not respond at all. But what happens here is you get a lot of data points. You've interacted face-to-face with a lot of different types of girls. So you know, okay, well, this line doesn't work. Maybe I shouldn't tell that story. Or maybe my eye contact isn't that good. Or maybe a lot of guys lack spatial or distance awareness. They'll get too close and we'll watch them. The girl takes a step back and they get even closer. And these are things you might not even realize you're doing, which is why, again, I think it's a good thing to take a concerted effort to practice this skill set. So then when you go on your first date with a girl, that whether you met her cold approach or whether you met her online, you're like, okay, well, I've talked to hundreds of girls who are complete strangers. It helps you with the social calibration. Yeah, and that's the worst thing a girl could ever call you guys. Or that's one thing you never want to hear come out of her mouth. Like, oh yeah, Joel was cool, but he's kind of creepy. And creepy just means you're socially uncalibrated.
So well said, Jaron. And what we've heard from people that we've consulted and stuff is that a lot of the fear is being creepy. That's why a lot of guys don't approach in the first place. And I think you put it very well right there. It's not like you're going to go and try to like abduct her or do anything like that. You're just not calibrated, so you're nervous. And that nervousness can come off as creepy. There's been times where I've approached and I'm not like in my best headspace and I don't give off the best vibe, right? So it's like coming back to like how you just need that volume, right? It's the repetition, it's facing that anxiety, that uncertainty, learning about yourself and, okay, how am I behaving when I'm around women, right? Because maybe like you said, I think the example was perfect. We've seen clients before that they're too far away from them. Like you said, you can be too close, but you can also be like too far away and shout out to one of our boys, Keon, he's learning this skill. And the first day he didn't even know he was doing it, but after I recorded him and then I told him like, hey man, like you're standing a little too far away. And he looked and he's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like,
and this is just a single example. In North American culture is usually 18 to 36 inches is kind of the accepted personal intimate space. Anything within 18 inches is a little more personal. Now that changes based on cultures. Here in Mexico, people do get a little closer to you, which I like because I can feel the girl's presence. Or I was back in the US and when you greet a girl, it's weird. They shake the hands there. That's very
masculine.
That's very informal. That's very impersonal. I was thinking the other day, it's probably because like the corporate culture where you can't touch women at work or whatever. But I've been down here so long that it feels weird when you don't hug her and kiss her. It's also considered extremely rude if you don't do that here. It's kind of an offense. But in doing so, you get when you initiate touch, you actually get to feel her. Like you get to feel the vibe. Again, don't take that in a creepy way. It's not like, oh, I'm going to try to cop a feel or anything. But you can feel the energy exchange in the flesh. And I know a lot of times I'd source a lot of my girls online, but when they show up and they get out of the Uber, that first kiss is essential. And I just go in standard, but sometimes she'll come close to the lips. Sometimes they'll just kiss me on the mouth or she'll give me that look like she doesn't know where to go. And that lets me know her attraction level towards me before we even start our activity for the day.
Right. I had a date the other week and she came up and she went like for the lip kiss and I'm just used to the cheek kiss. So I went for the cheek, but it told me in that moment, I'm like, oh, if I play this right, like we're gonna have a fun night.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never met this girl besides like my initial approach. And I think something about the approaching too, and I'm curious on your thoughts about it. You almost get like an instant date right away. Like she can sense who you are, what kind of person, your vibe, your energy. And that's why, like you said, vibe is so important because if your vibe's off, she's gonna assume that that's just you versus when you're like in a really strong state that day, you're feeling good, work's going well. She's like, oh, this is like the guy.
Yeah, she already got her sniff test. So a lot of times online, guys, you'll run into problems inevitably where your flake rate might be a little too high. Maybe she's rescheduling, maybe she's ghosting you. And I think cold approach, it's not going to be 100%. Nothing ever is. It is a game of failure. But in cold approach, at least she has that initial interaction with you. She knows you're a real person. She basically knows your vibe. She knows you have the confidence to go up and talk to her.
Yes.
Another point I was going to make is a lot of guys, they'll start off kind of more indirect online, but then they start getting some success and they start becoming bolder. And I always tell my guys, if you're ever teetering between the idea of should I play nice or should I go bold, you always lean on the side of bold. So what you'll get, and we've seen it online too, probably like in comments of your favorite videos, comments of these videos, where you'll get the keyboard warriors, like they're big, bold, and bad online. But in real life, it's never anyone that actually has a picture of them or a real name. Yeah, it's no one who would ever say that to me in real life. Because how do I know? Because no one has ever said that to me in real life, ever. Any country in the world, any point ever. I have never had anyone say something to my face similar to some of the types of comments I get, which actually we don't have a lot of haters. Like if you're watching this, you're probably a cool dude. Yeah. We're not for that type of people. There's other channels you can follow. But what happens is these guys, they build this online bravado to where like, oh, I'm the man, I'm King Alpha, I'm whatever. And then in real life, the girl shows up and they haven't taken it that far. Like, oh, what do I do now? Or the worst case, they'll fail miserably. Or we get a lot of guys to where, hey, went on the first date, it was great, pull the girl back to my place. What do I do now?
Kiss her.
On the lips. Exactly. hey, she's in the bathroom, she's cleaning up. I think she's using my razor. This is a real case example. I think she's cleaning up, she's using my razor, but she left her phone out here. Should I worry? I'm like, no, dude. Like she's getting herself presentable for you. You're about to have a good night, my friend. Like put your phone down, put your hands behind your head, just kind of take a deep breath, relax, pat yourself on the back, and get ready to go, because she's going to town on the hygiene there, which you did something right. But if you've never made it that far in the dating interaction, you wouldn't necessarily know that. Same thing. You get on a date, she gets out of the Uber, you guys meet at the restaurant, wherever you're going, maybe she's coming straight to the house, and you were bold online, but then she gets in person and you don't have experience being in the presence of attractive women in the flesh. And that's really difficult. That is a skill set you need to develop. And again, I think cold approach is a good way to do that, because the name implies it. It is truly cold approach. So if you can master cold approach, then you shouldn't have any problem meeting with a girl who you've already talked to, be it digitally or analog, if you sourced her via cold approach or if you sourced her online, and carrying that conversation forward. And also, Joel, you mentioned too, and we've been talking about this, it's all about management of the vibe. So relationship, it starts from the first impression, whether that be she sees you on a dating app and she matches you, or you cold approach her in public. That's the first impression. To ultimately the relationship ending, which that could be you guys fall off, she could get back with an ex, maybe you're seeing other girls, maybe you guys just don't vibe and you decide not to invite her out anymore. Every relationship has a timeline. Now, in the middle of that, you have little kind of check-in points. So every text you send matters. Every story you post, to less of a degree, which we'll do another video on this, why Instagram's a good lead nurture engine, because you're giving her a showcase into your life without you directly, I'm going to message Sally today.
Okay, yeah.
And when you're in person, that's important too. All of these seconds, minutes, and hours count, because you're really either raising the vibe or you're reducing the vibe.
Okay.
And then you'll watch a lot of channels, oh, 6 signs she's not into you, or 6 signs she is into you, or whatever. That really just comes down to how she feels energy-wise for you in the moment. So in terms of vibe management, you want to be sure that you don't make the vibe high via digital, and then when you get in person, you just fall flat on your face. It's like, oh yeah, Joel, he's kind of a dud. Or like, oh, he's not that interesting. Or a lot of you guys can't converse. A lot of you guys can't have conversations. And that just kills the vibe. Or a lot of you guys over communicate. And I fall in that camp a lot of times. You've mentioned recently when I bring girls around, I don't really talk to them that much anymore. Still feels weird to me, but I'm allowing that space for the vibe to grow, for her intrigue, for her mystique. And then if she asks me questions, then obviously I'll answer them. But at the end of the day, whether you're cold approaching or you're dating in person, you need to learn how to get that relationship or that vibe management down, to know exactly where you are energy-wise with her. And then I'll do another video dedicated on this, but a client asked me recently, how do I know when to escalate? Well, there's an escalation ladder. And you need to know where you're at in real time. Like, is this now a good time to kiss? If she turns away for 4 kisses in a row and then you try to feel her up, guess what? You're going to get the police called on you.
Or she's going to walk out of your house. One of the two.
Or the same girl. She could turn you away 3 or 4 times for kissing, and then all of a sudden you just play it cool, and then she puts her head on your shoulder and she looks up and kisses you. This happens a lot. Like, girls that turn you down at the initial stage of escalation, all of a sudden she'll skip 17 steps and have her hand down your pants. You're like, whoa. So you need to be privy to this stuff. You need to know where you are at all times. and where the vibe of the relationship is. And sometimes there is a disconnect to where the girl might think the vibe's high, but I don't. I walked out on a date recently a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Just wasn't feeling it. The girl kept asking me questions, didn't listen to a damn word I said. And I was like, I told her, I was like, hey, like this isn't really going where I want it to go. I'm not really enjoying my time with you. And then she gave me like a 3-minute lecture on some kind of like lefty liberal type stuff. I heard a lot of keywords in there. I'm like, yeah,
Okay.
this girl's not ready to date.
Okay.
So I was like, it was nice meeting you, but we're going to get out of here.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, we will make a video on what to do when she's back at your house, because I think that's a really important
Yep.
video. Like you said, like, a lot of guys don't, and we were in that camp too. Like, I really like how you're saying cold approach teaches you how to have actual conversation, because conversation, it's a give and take. There's moments of pause, and online you can pause for 12 hours and then go talk to them again.
Yeah.
But in person, there will be moments where the conversation runs its course. What do I say next? How do I initiate the conversation again?